So here at Campbell and Ferrara, each year we get in shipments of hundreds of trees. These trees are known for their scent. They're related to balsam firs, and they have what you think of as sort of that very typical, Christmas tree evergreen smell. This is a really popular choice not only for its scent, but also because it's native to sort of southwestern Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina. North Carolina is actually where most of your Fraser firs are grown. And so for people who are a little more environmentally conscious or worried about sort of the carbon footprint of the whole holiday experience, Fraser fir is a really good option. You want to look for something that has a nice straight trunk all the way up. You also want to look at the size of the trunk. You want to make sure that it's going to fit comfortably into whatever tree stand you're using, because you don't want to have to end up whittling the bottom of the trunk too much to try to fit it into a stand that's too small. Also, you want to look for good color in the needles. Fraser fir should have nice dark green needles. It's very common for them to have sort of a silvery underside, but if you see any sort of browning, things like that, that means that the tree isn't fresh and you'll want to choose a different one. So another really nice option for a Christmas tree is a noble fir. These come from the Pacific Northwest, usually from Oregon, and these trees are particularly popular because they have a stronger, denser wood. It makes for a little bit heavier tree, but it's great if you're one of those people who has a whole lot of ornaments and really likes to load your tree up. This has stronger branches that can support that extra weight. When choosing a noble fir, you want to look for a little bit more of a blue-green color, whereas with the Frasers we're looking for mostly a dark green. And you want to sort of give it a smell. It should smell like a fresh-cut evergreen tree. If there's any sort of a musty odor to it, that could be a sign of some rot within the tree, and you'll want to move on and choose a different one. So this tree is called a Shasta fir. Around here we usually call it the Charlie Brown tree. It's got a unique look to it. This tree comes from, again, the Pacific Northwest. It's actually an alpine tree, and its unique form is a result of being adapted to really harsh mountaintop environments where there's a lot of wind. And this is a great tree for people who have a lot of really large ornaments or handmade ornaments, something where they really want to showcase what they're hanging on the tree. The space between the branches really gives you an opportunity to do that. The needles are very much curled upward, and again, that's just another way that the tree protects itself from high wind conditions on mountaintops. As far as taking care of your tree, once you've picked out the perfect one, the first thing to take into account is that your tree still needs water, even though it's a cut tree. And so in order to maximize your tree's ability to take up water, you want to give it a fresh cut. And what we mean by a fresh cut is that you want to come in to the base of the trunk, and most tree lots will do this for you on site. You want to cut off the last sort of ½ to inch of the trunk, and that'll expose fresh tissue on the trunk and make it much easier for the tree to take up water. When making a fresh cut, it's best to do it with a chainsaw, just because that'll give you the cleanest cut possible. You can use hand loppers or something to take off some of the lower branches so that you have a nice, clean, smooth trunk to put into your tree stand. And that'll make it easiest to end up with a nice, level, straight tree. So once you get your tree home and you've got it into the appropriately sized stand, the next most important thing is keeping it watered. Once you have that fresh cut on the tree, you have sort of a 6 to 8 hour window where your tree is going to be really receptive to taking up water. Even if you're going to be leaving it outside for a couple of days, it's best to get it into a bucket of water. So there are products out there, things like Prolong or Tree Life, which people often mix in with water when they put it into the stand. Those products contain sugars and carbohydrates and things that will help stimulate your tree to take up water. And that's just another way to help prolong the life of the needles on the tree. The other most important thing to keep in mind once you have your tree at home is to keep it away from sources of heat. So it's anything like a fireplace, heat vents, any sort of direct sunlight from windows. All of those things are going to cause your tree to transpire and to lose water more quickly and decrease the length of time that those needles will stay affixed to the branches. Another thing that you can do to remove a source of heat is to use a low energy light, like an LED, rather than the typical incandescent lights. Those produce a lot less heat, and so it's another way to remove heat from the tree and keep it from drying out as quickly. And it's always worth mentioning that you want to check your lights before you put them on the tree, just to make sure that all of the wires are intact so that you don't end up with any sort of electrical problems or things that could jumpstart a fire. If you don't have room for a tree and you'd still like to get that same feeling, the same smell of the greenery, different types of roping are available. You can do the pine roping or the Fraser Fir or the boxwood, and these are great things to put around a doorway or to put over your fireplace or decorate a mantle. You're probably going to see a similar lifespan on those because they're not going to be in water. You will run into eventually the same problem of them drying out a little bit and starting to lose the needles. Reeds, again, are a great way if you don't have the space for a tree to get that same sort of Christmassy feeling, to get the greenery, to get the smell of a tree in a much smaller size. And you can use them in different areas, such as a doorway, or these ones are meant to go over a mantelpiece, swags that can be used as centerpieces on a table, or again as door decorations. And it's a great way, again, to get the same smell at a smaller price point and at a smaller size. If you're looking for something sort of in between, just a small wreath, and you're not really ready to commit to a full size, 8-foot tall cut tree, a smaller live tree is a really nice option. So in addition to Christmas trees, we also carry many different varieties of poinsettias and other blooming house plants that make great hostess gifts and holiday decorations.